My stepmom made me call her mom on camera for a grief channel, then secretly sold private clips of me to her online subscribers. The morning Shawn moved in, I watched my mom nail plywood over our kitchen window that faced his house. Just in case, she said. Within hours, the whispers started. Police questioned him for hours. His wife was only 28, perfectly healthy. Neighbors crossed streets to avoid him. Mothers yanked children away like he carried disease. I counted fresh bruises on my ribs while watching neighbors torment the killer next door. At least their monster lived outside their homes. Every morning at 6 a.m., Shawn knelt in his backyard next to a shrine. He'd say two names, Alana and Toby. No one else noticed. They were too busy organizing HOA meetings about property values. The HOA fined him daily. Grass 1 inch too long, $50. Trash cans visible, $75. They invented violations. Meanwhile, he fixed Mrs. Soto's fence after a storm, mowed lawns for deployed military families, always refused payment. Soon the mail carrier left packages on his curb, refusing to approach his door. I recognized how Shawn flinched when car doors slammed, the same way I did when Leo did when he came home. We were both ghosts in this neighborhood, just in different ways. Leo was my mom's co-worker who helped her grief my dad running off. He moved in 9 months after my dad left. Mom said we needed stability. What we got was empty bottles and broken promises. One Tuesday, he came home hammered early. The kitchen chair splintered first. Mom's bedroom door slammed. His footsteps thundered upstairs to my room and he said, "You're just like your worthless father." His wedding ring cut into my throat as his grip tightened. "Think you're better than me?" Black spots danced in my vision as I realized I might die. Then the doorbell rang. Shawn was on our porch yelling out. I heard screaming. Leo yanked the door open and Shawn asked, "Everything okay?" Leo's fingers still dug into my shoulder. "Family matter. Move along." Shawn didn't move. "I'll wait here until everyone's safe." Something in his calm certainty made Leo release me. For the first time in months, I could breathe. This man everyone feared was the only person who'd ever stood up to Leo. I wanted to be like him, someone who helped despite being hated. Mom emerged, makeup smeared. "We don't need help from a killer." Using my family's problems to play hero, her hand shook as she pointed at Shawn, the same shake she got after Leo's rages. "This how you get your thrills?" Leo stepped forward. "Maybe violence turns you on. That what happened to your wife?" Shawn's face went pale. He said nothing, just turned and walked home. Next morning, HOA harassment warning on Shawn's door. Leo filed a restraining order. The neighborhood's cruelty intensified. Someone poured bleach on his roses. The next day, there were eggs on his car and dog feces on his porch. The neighborhood had a schedule for cruelty. Mrs. Conley, who baked cookies for everyone, suggested rat poison for his garden during the next HOA meeting. Everyone nodded. Then came the cruelest act of all. Someone broke down Shawn's fence and destroyed his shrine. I watched him discover his slashed tires the morning after and watched as he collapsed in his driveway. His shoulders shook with the kind of sobs that come from bones, not just eyes. I ran outside. "Are you okay?" He looked up, eyes red. "I was going to buy more roses to fix the shrine. I can't do this anymore." Shawn walked inside, leaving his door open. Through the doorway, I saw him throwing things into boxes. A photo frame shattered on hardwood. I stepped inside, knowing my mom would call me if she found out. Shawn knelt, carefully lifting the photo from broken glass. A woman smiled back, 2 young children on her lap, boy and girl, maybe 4 and 6. "She culled them first," he whispered. "She put antifreeze in their smoothies. Strawberry banana, their favorite." His hands shook. I came home early to surprise them, found her standing over their beds. They'd been gone for hours. My blood turned to ice. I called 911, tried CPR even though she grabbed a kitchen knife when she heard sirens, said we'd all be together. I had to stop her. The police cleared me, but someone leaked her parents' version, that I was abusive, that I drove her to it. He stood, clutching the photo. I thought maybe I could just tend my garden and remember them in peace. Shawn resumed packing. I stood frozen, watching the only person who'd ever protected me prepare to disappear. Tomorrow, it would just be me and Leo again, and the neighbors would go back to pretending they couldn't hear the screaming. I watched him pack another box, my mind racing. Through our kitchen window, I saw Leo filming everything with his phone, muttering something I couldn't hear, but his lips clearly formed the words as he zoomed in on me standing in Shawn's doorway. Shawn noticed my distraction and followed my gaze. His shoulders sagged even more. He's documenting this. Smart move on his part. He turned back to his packing. Movements mechanical now. They all think they know what happened, but they don't know anything. Not about me, not about what's really going on. He paused, looking directly at me. "Your mom included." I stepped further inside, heart pounding. "What do you mean?" His eyes flicked toward my house with something that looked like pity. He set down the tape dispenser and pulled a business card from his wallet. "You're going to need this more than therapy when you find out the truth." The card read, "Catherine Robert, attorney at law, specializing in financial crimes and estate planning." Through the window, I saw Leo had started crossing our yard, his face set in that expression I knew too well. My stomach clenched. "Ask your mom about the Riverside account," Shawn said quietly, resuming his packing with increased urgency. Before I could ask what he meant, we heard car doors slamming outside. Mrs. Soto had arrived, but not alone. 2 other HOA board members flanked her as she marched up Shawn's driveway, briefcase in hand. She wasn't carrying cookies or a casserole. She carried legal documents. "Mr. Shawn Peterson?" Her voice cut through the morning air like ice. "As president of the Riverside Estates Homeowners Association and practicing attorney, I'm serving you with formal notice of violations." She thrust a thick envelope at him through the open door. "You have 72 hours to comply with all listed violations or face liens against your property." Shawn took the envelope with steady hands, though I noticed they trembled slightly. "Liens? For what?" "Failure to maintain property standards, creating a public nuisance, multiple covenant violations dating back 6 months." Mrs. Soto's smile was sharp as broken glass. "The full list is itemized. Total fines currently stand at $47,000. I gasped. Shawn had been here less than a year. How could anyone accumulate that much in fines? Leo reached the doorway just as Mrs. Soto finished. "There a problem here?" His voice carried that fake concern he used in public. "No problem at all," Mrs. Soto replied smoothly. "Just ensuring our neighborhood maintains its standards." She glanced at me with disapproval. "Though I am concerned about unsupervised minors entering homes of individuals with documented violent history." memories. My face burned. I wanted to defend Shawn, to tell her about the shrine, about his real story, but Leo's hand clamped down on my shoulder. Come on, Leo said, steering me toward the door. Let Mr. Peterson handle his business. I looked back at Shawn, torn between fleeing Leo's grip and demanding answers about my mom and this Riverside account. Outside, I noticed something that made my decision for me. Shawn's moving truck, which had been fine an hour ago, now had 4 slashed tires. I planted my feet. Someone slashed his tires. Leo's grip tightened. Not our problem. But he can't leave now. The truck, I said it's not our problem. His fingers dug in harder, and I recognized the warning. Shawn stepped past us to survey the damage, his face going pale. He turned to Mrs. Soto. You can't do this. I have rights. You have 72 hours, she repeated. I suggest you use them wisely. I twisted away from Leo's grip, surprising him. Tell me about my mom. What did you mean? Shawn glanced between Leo and Mrs. Soto, something shifting in his expression. Your mom and Leo have been discussing the monthly transfers. I've heard them through the walls. Every first Tuesday, like clockwork. Leo's face darkened. You've been eavesdropping? Hard not to hear when voices carry. Shawn moved back toward his house, but kept talking. Your wife mentioned Riverside Holdings more than once. Funny thing about that company, it seems to own quite a few properties around here. Enough, Leo snarled, following Shawn inside. You don't know what you're talking about, don't I? Shawn walked to his kitchen, where I could see him gathering papers from a box on the counter. My Alana worked in finance before she died. She was good at her job, very good at noticing patterns. He grabbed something from the counter and moved toward the sink. It was a USB drive. Before anyone could stop him, he dropped it into the garbage disposal and flipped the switch. The grinding noise made me flinch. What are you doing? Mrs. Soto pushed past us, her composure cracking. Spring cleaning, Shawn said calmly. Getting rid of old files. Alana kept everything from work. Said she'd found something important about a scheme involving. The pounding on the door cut him off, but it wasn't knocking. It was the sound of a key turning in the lock. Leo walked straight in through Shawn's front door using a key none of us knew he had. How do you have a key to my house? Shawn's voice was deadly quiet. Leo smiled, the expression making my skin crawl. Property management company keeps copies for emergencies. And speaking of property, he pulled out his phone, scrolling through documents. Seems you owe more than just HOA fines. Watching how Leo shifts between public performance and private violence reveals the calculated nature of abusers. His ability to switch from threatening a child to playing concerned neighbor shows some weird practiced manipulation. There are liens against this house totaling $47,000. Fascinating how penalties compound with interest. That's impossible. I've paid every legitimate fine, sure, but there are additional assessments, administrative fees, legal costs. It's all documented. Leo's smile widened. Pay up or get out. Those are your options. While Leo lectured Shawn about property values and community standards, I saw him typing on his phone with one hand. The message was brief, but I caught a glimpse. Your kid's here. Handle it or I handle the situation permanently. My blood turned to ice. That wasn't a warning. It was a threat. Mom arrived within minutes, tires screeching as she parked. She burst through Shawn's door, and I expected anger. Instead, her face showed pure panic. She grabbed my arm roughly, avoiding eye contact with everyone, especially Shawn. We're leaving. Now. Mom, wait. Shawn was telling me about— Now! She yanked me toward the door. In the chaos of her arrival, papers from Shawn's box had scattered. As she dragged me past, I saw a bank statement flutter to the floor. Without thinking, I stepped on it, then pretended to stumble. When I caught myself, the paper was crumpled in my fist. We were halfway across the yard when another car arrived. An elderly woman emerged, and I recognized her from photos in Shawn's house, his mother. But she wasn't alone. A police cruiser pulled up behind her. Finally, Mrs. Soto said, the authorities can handle this appropriately. But the officers weren't there to help Shawn. They served him with eviction papers. You have 30 days to vacate the premises. Failure to comply will result in forcible removal. 30 days? Shawn's mother rushed to her son. He owns this house. You can't just— The liens supersede ownership, Mrs. Soto explained with satisfaction. It's all perfectly legal. I made sure of that. Back in our house, Mom's hands shook as she searched my pockets. What did he give you? What did you take? Nothing, Mom. I didn't— Don't lie to me. She was frantic now, checking every pocket twice. When she found nothing, her shoulders sagged with relief. She collapsed onto the couch, head in her hands. I went to my room, heart still racing. The crumpled bank statement burned in my sock where I'd hidden it. Smoothing it out on my bed, I had to read it 3 times before the words made sense. Riverside Holdings LLC, account balance, $2.3 million. And there, listed as co-owner alongside 2 other names, was my mother's name in black and white. My hands trembled as I hid the statement under my mattress. Whatever Shawn had tried to warn me about, I was already in too deep to turn back now. That night, I couldn't focus on homework. Instead, I searched through Mom's old work emails on the family computer. She never changed her passwords, always used variations of my birthday. What I found made my stomach churn. 2 years ago, right after Dad left, Mom got a promotion. The same week, Leo became her supervisor, despite being in a completely different department. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. I dug deeper, finding a folder marked personal. Inside was a scanned letter in Dad's handwriting. I know what you did. I can't be part of this anymore. Don't try to find me. The date on the letter was 2 months before Mom told me Dad had abandoned us. At dinner the next evening, Leo mentioned casually that my college fund needed restructuring. Should be more liquid, he said, cutting his steak. You never know when emergencies might arise. Mom's fork clattered against her plate. The college fund is fine where it is. We'll discuss it later, Leo said, his tone ending the conversation. The next day at school, the counselor pulled me aside. We need to talk about your recent behavior. Mr. Leo called with some concerns about violent tendencies. I stared at her. Violent tendencies? I've never— She opened a file on her desk. There have been several reported incidents. Aggressive behavior at home, threatening language. She showed me typed reports, all signed by Leo, documenting things that never happened. I'm required to report if I believe you're a danger to yourself or others. But none of that is true. I understand this is difficult. Sometimes we don't remember our actions clearly when we're emotional. She closed the file. I'll be monitoring the situation. Any escalation will require immediate intervention. I left her office feeling trapped. Leo wasn't just controlling me at home. He was building a case, creating a paper trail of lies. After school, I went to the library. I needed to know more about Riverside Holdings. The librarian, Mrs. Chen, helped me access public records. What I found made me sick. Riverside Holdings owned 6 houses in our neighborhood, all purchased in the last 3 years. All previous owners had either died or divorced under suspicious circumstances. And according to the records, Mrs. Soto had handled every single sale, always swooping in to help grieving families with quick cash offers below market value. I was printing pages when someone appeared behind me. Finding anything interesting? I spun around to see Mr. Daniels, Leo's friend who worked part-time at the library. My heart hammered as I tried to casually close the browser windows. Just research for a school project, I managed. He glanced at the papers in the printer tray. Riverside Holdings? That's pretty advanced economics for high school. I grabbed the papers, shoving them into my backpack. It's for AP Economics, company case studies. He didn't look convinced. Well, be careful with your research. Sometimes digging too deep can be dangerous. Was that a threat or a warning? I couldn't tell. As I turned to leave, one more search result caught my eye. Alana Peterson, Shawn's wife, had worked at Mom's company in the finance department. Her last email to HR, sent the day before she died, had a subject line that made my blood run cold. Evidence of fraudulent activity. Urgent response required. I printed that too, then practically ran from the library. Outside, a woman approached me. She was in her 40s, professional looking, with sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. "You're Leo's stepkid, right?" she asked. I nodded warily. "I'm Sheila. I'm an insurance investigator." She handed me a business card. "I've been looking into some unusual death claims in this neighborhood. I think you might have information that could help." "I don't know anything about your father," she interrupted. "There's a coroner's report from 2 years ago. Unidentified body found in another state. The description matches your dad." She pulled out a photo from her folder. "Is this him?" My knees went weak. It was Dad. Definitely Dad. But Mom had said he left us. The letter proved he'd run away, didn't it? "When did your mother tell you he left?" Sheila asked gently. 2 years ago, in March. This body was found in May, 2 months after he supposedly left. She studied my face. "Your mother filed for his life insurance in June, claiming abandonment. But if he was already dead, I couldn't breathe. The timeline was wrong. Everything was wrong." That night, someone slipped a note under our front door. Mom was in the shower. Leo was watching TV. I grabbed it before anyone noticed. "Check who benefited from the life insurance policies." All of them. A friend. I recognized the handwriting. It was Shawn's mother. The next morning, Sheila found me at the bus stop. "I've been investigating 5 deaths connected to Riverside Holdings properties. Every single claim was processed through your mother's company. She personally handled all of them." "That doesn't mean your mom isn't the villain here," Sheila said quietly. "But she's involved, and I think she's in danger too." Before I could ask what she meant, Leo's car turned the corner. Sheila noticed too, quickly walking to her own vehicle, but not before Leo got a good look at her license plate. The smile on his face as he drove past made my skin crawl. That evening, my Aunt Paula called during dinner. Mom put her on speaker, not realizing I could hear from the hallway. "Just tell me the truth," Paula pleaded. "When did David really die? The date you gave me doesn't match what you told the insurance company." Mom's voice was strained. "Why are you asking about this now?" "Because someone called me. They said if I didn't lie about the date, they'd just tell me what's going on. Please." Leo took the phone from Mom's hand and ended the call. "We'll deal with your sister later," he said. Through the crack under the door, I saw Mom's hands shaking as she reached for her wine glass. Whatever was happening, she was trapped in it too. But that didn't make her innocent. The bank statement proved she was profiting from whatever Riverside Holdings was doing. I thought about Shawn, packing up his life because the neighborhood had judged him guilty without knowing the truth. I thought about his wife, who discovered something at work worth killing for. I thought about my dad, whose body was found 2 months after he'd supposedly abandoned us. And I thought about Leo, building his case against me, documenting my violent tendencies, while the real violence happened behind closed doors where no one could see. Tomorrow, Shawn would be gone. The only person who'd tried to warn me would disappear, taking his secrets with him, unless I did something about it tonight. I waited until the house was quiet, then crept to my window. Shawn's house was dark except for one light in his living room. He was still packing, still preparing to run from a tragedy that wasn't his fault. But maybe, just maybe, we could help each other, because now I understood what he'd meant. We were both ghosts in this neighborhood, and ghosts had nothing left to lose. I slipped the bank statement into my pocket, along with Catherine Robert's business card. Whatever truth was buried in Riverside Holdings accounts, I was going to find it. Well, nothing says normal family dinner quite like your stepdad casually suggesting he liquidate your college fund while cutting into his steak. That's some villain-level multitasking right there. Even if it destroyed everything I thought I knew about my family. Even if it proved my mother was a murderer. The boarding school brochures arrived 3 days later. Leo spread them across the kitchen table with theatrical precision, each glossy page featuring smiling teenagers in pristine uniforms. Mom stood at the sink, her back rigid as she scrubbed the same plate for the 3rd time. Leo tapped one brochure with his finger. The header read, Mountain View Therapeutic Academy, Utah. He explained how he'd started the application months ago, just in case. The enrollment confirmation slip fell out, already dated for 3 weeks from now. I recognized the tactic immediately, the same isolation strategy. My research had shown that Alana's children were pulled from school the week before their mother called them. The pattern was becoming clearer with each passing day. Mr. Conley stopped me on my way home from school the next afternoon. He shifted nervously, glancing around before leaning in close. He admitted he'd seen Leo and Mom at the county morgue 2 years ago. He thought I knew they were identifying a body, assumed it was a relative. His next words made my blood freeze. Mom had collapsed when she saw the body. The pharmacy visit that followed my doctor's appointment raised more red flags. The pharmacist frowned at my new prescription, questioning why someone my age needed such a high dose of ADH medication. I didn't have ADHD. She refused to fill it, suggesting we get a second opinion. That night, while searching for my missing homework, I discovered something that explained Leo's confidence. Hidden cameras, tiny and sophisticated, positioned throughout my room. The setup looked professional, with wires running behind the walls. He'd been recording me for months, and based on what I'd learned about his methods, he was likely editing the footage. The CPS visit came 2 days later. The social worker focused entirely on my alleged violent tendencies. Leo produced a laptop, showing carefully edited videos that made innocent movements look aggressive. In one, my frustrated gesture after dropping a book appeared to be me throwing it at him. Another showed me lunging at him when I'd actually been reaching for my backpack. Sheila contacted me again, this time with an invitation to what she called a support group. When I arrived at the community center, I realized it wasn't a typical support group at all. 7 other teenagers sat in the circle, all orphans. As they shared their stories, a chilling pattern emerged. Every single one of their parents had died under suspicious circumstances, and all had lived in properties later acquired by Riverside Holdings. The bank records Sheila showed us revealed another layer to the scheme. Mom had started receiving payments from Riverside Holdings 2 years before Dad died. The deposits were small at first, labeled as consulting fees, but they increased dramatically after his death. Alana's sister reached out through social media using a fake account. Her message was brief, but devastating. Alana had been gathering evidence on my mom when she discovered her own husband was involved in the scheme. The conflict of interest had torn her apart. During dinner, I tested the waters by casually mentioning Riverside Holdings. Mom's wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor. Red wine spread across the white tiles like blood. Leo remained perfectly calm, commenting about kids and their conspiracy theories. Mom's hand shook for the rest of the meal. The boarding school called the next morning to confirm my psychiatric intake appointment. The woman on the phone cheerfully explained that Leo had submitted my application months ago, but had recently requested to move up the admission date due to escalating behavioral issues. Aunt Paula called me directly on my cell phone after school. Her voice was strained as she revealed that Mom had begged her to take me in, but said Leo would hurt them both if she tried. She'd been trying to save me, Paula insisted, but she was trapped. I came home to find new locks on all the doors. Mom discovered her key wouldn't work when she arrived from work. Her key bent in the lock as she tried to force it. Leo opened the door from inside, explaining he'd upgraded the security for everyone's safety. That evening, Leo made me an offer. Stop digging into Riverside Holdings, and he'd convince Mom I only needed local therapy instead of boarding school. The choice was mine, he said, but I needed to decide quickly. In the bathroom later, Mom slipped me a note while Leo watched TV. Her handwriting was shaky. Stop investigating. He has the sleeping pills I gave your father for his back pain. He's made it look like I overdosed him. Sheila's investigation was gaining momentum. She revealed that all the sewer slide victims had large insurance policies with Riverside Holdings listed as secondary beneficiary. Alana had discovered this pattern weeks before her death. The pieces were falling into place. Only 3 people had access to process these claims: Mom, Leo, and the company's CFO, who had died in a car accident last year. I found Mom's diary hidden in the attic, wrapped in an old sweater. The entries revealed the full scope of Leo's control. After Dad died, Leo had threatened to frame her for murder unless she processed fraudulent insurance claims. He had the prescription bottle with her fingerprints, the one she'd innocently given Dad for his back pain. Aunt Paula filed for emergency custody despite the threats. The hearing was brief. The judge denied her petition based on the CPS report documenting my violent tendencies. I noticed the judge's wife's name on a placard in the hallway. She worked at Mom's company. Mom and I developed a crude communication system using accounting codes that Alana had apparently taught her. In Mom's hidden notes, Mrs. Soto was referred to only as C, the one who structured all the legal documents that made the scheme possible. I started documenting everything, creating my own paper trail while pretending to be broken by the boarding school threat. I attended therapy sessions, acted subdued at home, and let Leo think he'd won. The mandatory family counseling session provided an unexpected opportunity. The therapist noted my improvement, but added something that made Leo's jaw tighten. She mentioned I no longer showed signs of coaching or rehearsed responses. 3 families of Riverside Holdings victims hired Sheila officially. The investigation shifted from private inquiry to corporate investigation. The insurance company couldn't ignore the patterns anymore. Leo's previous business partner, Jason, called Mom at work. I heard about it when she came home in tears. Jason warned her that Leo was doing it again, that she needed to get out before she became the next sewer slide. Mom started sleeping with a knife under her pillow. She made me promise that if something happened to her, I would run immediately to Aunt Paula's house. Then she gave me something that changed everything: Dad's real sewer slide note. The note was different from the one I'd found in her emails. This one detailed how he'd discovered the insurance scheme but couldn't prove it. The last line chilled me. They'll make it look like I wanted to die. When I confronted Mom about Dad's death, Leo overheard. He didn't deny anything. Instead, he calmly explained that depressed people kill themselves all the time. His job was just to make sure the paperwork was in order afterward. The school counselor pulled me aside privately. She admitted she'd been documenting Leo's manipulation techniques. She showed me a newspaper clipping about a former student who died by sewer slide after similar harassment. She couldn't save that kid, she said, but maybe she could help me. The insurance company launched an internal audit of all Riverside Holdings claims. Leo's options were narrowing, and his behavior became more erratic. Then came the biggest shock. Mom discovered Leo had secretly married someone 6 months ago. Sarah was the new processing clerk at the company, and, more significantly, the daughter of Jason, Leo's previous business partner who'd called with a warning. Mom realized with growing horror that Leo was already preparing her replacement. I found Sarah alone at the company parking lot and tried to warn her. She laughed at my concern, revealing she knew exactly what her stepfather did. He'd called her real dad too, she said, briefly showing me the GN in her purse. The orphan support group began connecting specific dots. Each of their parents' deaths corresponded to insurance policies that Mom had processed. The guilt was eating her alive, but she couldn't stop without endangering both of us. Leo's plan to send me away hit a snag when the boarding school discovered the psychiatric evaluations were forged. They called to cancel my enrollment, citing liability concerns. Mom's mother visited for my birthday, cheerfully mentioning that Leo had helped update her will the previous week. She was now worth $2 million in insurance, she added, thanks to his smart financial advice. Even Mom's boss started questioning the unusual number of death claims from Riverside Holdings properties. The pattern was becoming too obvious to ignore. Sheila obtained security footage from traffic cameras showing Leo at 3 victims' houses the night before their suicides. The evidence was circumstantial, but damning. The insurance company delivered an ultimatum to Mom: provide all Riverside Holdings documentation by Monday or face prosecution. They didn't know Leo monitored her work emails. During the neighborhood BBQ, Sarah made a dramatic announcement about being pregnant. Leo's face went white as he calculated the financial financial implications. A baby would complicate his carefully laid plans. I realized Mom's only chance was if Leo and Sarah turned against each other. I found a fake pregnancy test at the drugstore and made sure Leo discovered it before Sarah could tell him herself. What a web of chaos they're all creating. Sarah knows everything and has a gun in her purse while pretending to be pregnant. This is getting wild, brew. Mom spent the week at work appearing to shred documents while actually copying them first. Her coworkers noticed her unusual behavior, but said nothing. The weight of evidence finally pushed Mom to a decision. She scheduled a meeting with the FBI for Monday morning. She thought she was being discreet. That weekend, Mom told me to pack light. We were visiting Aunt Paula and not coming back. She didn't know Leo had already seen her FBI appointment in her email. Leo confronted Sarah about the pregnancy, demanding she handle it. Unknown to him, she recorded the entire conversation on her phone. Sarah revealed to me that she'd been investigating Leo for years, trying to prove he called her father. The pregnancy announcement was fake, designed to force his hand. Now she had the evidence she needed. As we prepared to leave for Aunt Paula's house, I knew the real confrontation was coming. Leo would never let us simply walk away. Too much money was at stake, too many secrets buried in Riverside Holdings accounts. The bank statement still hidden under my mattress showed $2.3 million in Mom's name, but I now understood she was as much a prisoner as I was. The only difference was her cage was built from guilt and blackmail instead of locks and lies. Everything was about to collapse. The FBI meeting, Sarah's evidence, Sheila's investigation, the insurance company audit, all these threads were converging. Leo's carefully constructed scheme was unraveling, but cornered animals are the most dangerous, and Leo had nowhere left to run. The next few hours would determine whether Mom and I escaped this nightmare or became its final victims. I tucked Dad's real sewer slide note into my pocket next to Catherine Robert's business card. Whatever happened next, at least the truth would survive. Leo waited at our house when we returned for passports, holding Mom's car keys. His expression remained calm, but I recognized the tension in his shoulders. He'd discovered the FBI meeting through Mom's work email. Sarah arrived minutes later, GN visible in her purse. She pointed it at Mom, accusing her of processing her father's death claim. The room filled with accusations and counter-accusations while I edged toward the door. Shawn's mother appeared next, carrying Alana's real diary. She explained that Alana had planned to contact the FBI before her death, but Shawn tried to stop her to protect their children. The diary revealed Alana knew testifying would put her family at risk. Surrounded by evidence and enemies, Mom broke down. She revealed the full truth about Riverside Holdings through tears and trembling hands. Leo had been the enforcer, but the real mastermind was someone else entirely. Mrs. Soto arrived as if summoned. The HOA president and corporate lawyer who'd structured the entire scheme from the beginning stood in our doorway. She explained how the HOA liens weren't just about property values. They were part of a systematic property acquisition scheme. Soto revealed she had judges, police officers, and CPS workers receiving payments. She explained why Shawn couldn't get help despite his innocence. The network ran deep through our community, but stayed local. No grand conspiracies, just small-town corruption. Security footage from my hidden camera captured Soto admitting to orchestrating Dad's murder. She called it a practice run for bigger targets. I'd been recording everything on my phone for weeks. The FBI arrived, but the lead agent showed a video of himself taking bribes from Soto. They arrested Mom and me for insurance fraud instead of helping us. The corruption ran through local law enforcement, not higher. Sarah switched sides again, telling the FBI that I'd threatened her with a gun. She planted it in my backpack while everyone argued. Her allegiance shifted with whoever seemed to be winning. During transport, Leo rammed the FBI car. He claimed he was rescuing us, but I saw his real plan in his eyes. He intended a murder sewer slide, believing we should all go together rather than face prison. The car crashed near the woods behind our neighborhood. Mom and I escaped through the shattered rear window, Leo pursuing on foot. Mom's leg was injured in the crash, slowing our escape. Aunt Paula had followed us, suspicious of our sudden trip. She called the real FBI from her car, keeping the line open. They heard everything. Soto's confession, the corrupt agent's admission, Leo's threats. I protected Mom in the woods while Leo and Sarah hunted us. Mom's broken leg made movement difficult. I used Dad's sewer slide note as bait, leading our pursuers away from Mom toward the cliff where Dad's body had been found 2 years ago. Leo caught me at the cliff's edge, the same spot where he'd pushed Dad 2 years earlier. He grabbed my shoulders, ready to complete the pattern. All parties converged at the cliff. Leo, Sarah, Soto, the corrupt FBI agent. A real FBI helicopter arrived, summoned by Aunt Paula's call. I kept recording everything on my phone. Soto ordered Leo to throw me off the cliff. She wanted another troubled teen sewer slide to clean up loose ends. Her cold calculation showed no emotion. Sarah revealed her true identity. She was actually an undercover FBI agent from the Financial Crimes Division. She'd been investigating the insurance fraud network for months, using her father's death as her cover story. Sheila emerged from the woods with Mom and Shawn. Shawn had been hiding at his mother's house, feeding information to investigators. Alana had sent Sheila everything before her death, knowing the danger she faced. I faced a choice: jump into the river below or trust that Sarah was really FBI. The drop was survivable but dangerous. I chose to jump. I dove into the river, surfacing immediately. Gunfire erupted above as I swam underwater to evade any shots. The cold water shocked my system, but adrenaline kept me moving. Leo shot Soto to eliminate witnesses. She fell onto the rocks below, critically injured. Sarah shot Leo in the shoulder, stopping him from firing again. I surfaced downstream, swimming to where Mom waited with real paramedics. Aunt Paula had given them our location. Mom's relief at seeing me alive overwhelmed her injuries. Soto survived the fall but was paralyzed. Facing Leo's attempt to finish her off, she began confessing everything to save herself. Her detailed admission exposed the entire local network. Mom finally relaxed, then collapsed from internal bleeding she'd hidden. The crash had caused more damage than we'd realized. Paramedics worked frantically to stabilize her. In the hospital, Leo's cousin, a nurse, attempted to inject me with an OD. Sheila caught her in time, having anticipated one final attempt. The corruption reached into the hospital staff, but only through personal connections. Mom survived surgery, but faced serious charges. Her role in processing fraudulent claims couldn't be ignored despite Leo's coercion. The prosecutor acknowledged her cooperation, but couldn't dismiss her involvement. Aunt Paula gained emergency custody while I prepared to testify. The case expanded to include 47 defendants, all local officials and business owners. No grand conspiracy, just a network of greed affecting our community. Shawn returned as a key witness. Alana's recordings exposed the entire network, including the judges and police officers on Soto's payroll. His testimony cleared his name completely. The trials took 18 months. Mom received 15 years in minimum security after cooperating fully. Leo got death row for killing Soto and 3 others. Sarah, the real FBI agent, earned a promotion for her undercover work. Riverside Holdings properties returned to victims' families through civil suits. The HOA dissolved after Soto's arrest. Our neighborhood slowly healed from the years of manipulation and loss. I moved in with Aunt Paula near Mom's prison. Weekly visits showed Mom's genuine remorse. She used her financial knowledge to help other inmates with legitimate business plans. I enrolled in community college, studying forensic accounting. Alana's sister became my mentor, teaching me to spot financial crimes. My experience made me determined to prevent similar schemes. 2 years later, I lived quietly with Paula. Mom served her time, accepting responsibility. Leo's appeals failed. The neighborhood found peace without Riverside Holdings' influence. Shawn sent a Christmas card with a simple message about truth and freedom, even when it hurts. I kept it next to Dad's real photo, finally understanding that survival sometimes means accepting the complex truth about the people we love. This whole story shows how greed and fear can destroy a whole town, but also how brave people working together can bring justice.